What's up, everybody? We're grateful to have you here on your new favorite YouTube channel. We're here talking about the first round of the playoffs, key matchups, and what we see exciting going forward in the playoffs.
I'm Nate.
I'm Ryan.
And this is NNR Analysis.
So the matchup I want to be talking about today is that Boston-Brooklyn series. If you're following along with the playoffs right now, it is 2-0 with Boston having a lead, so it's looking like it isn't that exciting if you're just looking at it from that point of view. But if you're looking at the stats and everything, it's a lot more interesting than just that. So the way that the two games have gone out so far, Boston won the first game 115-114 with Jason Tatum hitting the winning shot at the buzzer. And then the second game was Boston winning 114-107. So both pretty close games. Both games, though, were played in Boston. So now, as we shift in the playoffs, we're going to Brooklyn. So we'll see how they perform there. The key matchup that I want to be talking about today is Kyrie Irving and Jaylen Brown. So obviously, Kevin Durant, he plays for Brooklyn, and he's their star player. Jason Tatum is the star player for Boston. Both of them have performed when they've matched up. It's pretty even, with Kevin Durant having 8 wins versus Jason Tatum having 6 wins when they've played against each other. Kevin Durant has a few more points per game, a few more rebounds, and steals, blocks, assists are all about the same. So they're pretty even. We know what we're going to get from them. What it comes down to is how is Kyrie going to perform and how is Jaylen Brown going to perform. When you look at the two teams, Boston, they run with an 11-man lineup. That means they're rotating out they run with an 8-man lineup. What that means is there's only a few players coming in and out. So they need those players to perform at a high level every game. And Jaylen Brown needs to step up his game if they want to continue. Looking at Brooklyn, on the other hand, they run an 11-man lineup, meaning they don't need as much production from their players, but they still need Kyrie to play big. This game, it looks like a close game with Brooklyn losing by only 7. But if you look at the numbers, Kevin Durant had 27 points, only shooting 4 for 17. That's under 25%. He's not shooting well in that game, but he's making it to the free throw line and shooting 18 for 20, 90%. So he killed it even though he didn't play well. Kyrie, on the other hand, only had 10 points. That's unacceptable for Kyrie. Kyrie's getting paid big bucks. He's got to perform in these games. He's got to put up these big numbers if they want to continue in the series. Obviously, it's a good series. We got some good matchups coming forward. But if Brooklyn wants to continue, they need Kyrie to play big. They need Steph Curry's younger brother, Seth, to play big. They need Bruce Brown, Goran Dragic, these key players to play big. Meanwhile, Boston, they just got to continue what they're doing. Play good D and get those numbers out of their players like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Obviously, it's going to come down to the wire. I see Boston winning it right now in 7. I know I said Brooklyn earlier was going to win it, but with how things have gone out, Kyrie not performing, I'm changing things up. But either way, it should be a good series. Keep watching.
The playoff matchup that is most interesting to me currently is between the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks. That is the matchup that I have chosen to talk about today. Notable to point out that currently in the series, it is 1-1 between the Jazz and the Mavericks. It's also notable to point out that Luka Doncic, the Mavericks superstar, has been out for games 1 and 2. In his absence, Jalen Brunson has stepped up and filled in for Luka. He's had career highs in both games against the Jazz, scoring 24 points in Game 1 and 41 points in Game 2. Personal opinion here, I think Spencer Dinwiddie is probably the second best player on the Mavericks. Dinwiddie scored 22 in Game 1 and 17 in Game 2. Jalen Brunson has stepped up in Luka's absence. Game 1, it was all about Bogdanović from the Utah Jazz in the first half. He shot 8 for 11 for shooting and scored 20 points. In the second half, it was all about Donovan. He finally stepped up and got his rhythm going. He had 2 points in the first half, 30 in the second half, and finished with 32. Fun statistic here, Donovan has scored 30 or more in his last 7 of 8 playoff games. He's up there with the top candidates of Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Kevin Durant, Jerry West. Donovan, who has 28.9 points per game during the playoffs, and then LeBron James, 28.7. However, props to LeBron James, he's played for a lot more seasons. It'll be interesting to see if Donovan will be able to maintain that. Dallas just wasn't enough. The Jazz held it together, which is a surprise because if you look at the Jazz during the regular season, they lost in the fourth quarter more than any other team. If NBA games ended after third quarters, the Jazz would have the number 1 record in the NBA. Game 1, they finished it out. Luckily, Royce O'Neal hit a clutch 3 there in the fourth quarter, put the Jazz up by 4, and that was basically that. They held them out. Game 2, on the other hand, was a different story. At about the 6-minute mark in the fourth quarter, Jazz fell apart, as they did all season. They looked in charge, but then Jalen Brunson took over. It's also notable to point out that Maxi Kleber had a wonderful game, shooting 8 for 11 from 3. The Jazz left him open at the perimeter like they did last year with the Clippers in the playoffs, and they were exposed for that. The Clippers proved that they could play small ball, and the Jazz were beat. 4 straight games, in fact. Also notable to point out that Mike Conley was cold in this game. He had 0 points and shot 7 shots. So the question is, what do they do now? Personally, I think they need to utilize Rudy more in the post. That's why I chose to pick this jersey today to wear. I don't know if they will, but I don't know that he contributes enough points for the Jazz to continue. I still think the Jazz will win this series, even if Luka comes back, which is to be determined at this point, but he could come back in games 3 or 4. I'm hoping for the Jazz to pull out a win.
Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. We're grateful for you tuning in. If you like what you see, make sure to hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, leave some comments, let us know what we can improve on and what we can tell you about next week.
Hi, everybody.
We're going to do something different this week where we just talk in weird voices. Hope you enjoy.